What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's reaction video is why you don't want to live on the US/Canada border. Why not?
I have no idea.
The only thing I can think of is maybe a lot of traffic through there from people
commuting
between, and maybe if you accidentally got caught on the wrong side of the border without having details checked, you're technically illegally crossing.
Maybe.
I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know why you wouldn't.
I don't know. But it's not a hard border, is it? So you can just freely go in between, I'm guessing.
Unless
there's
it's
probably checks at random points.
You remember we did a video, didn't we, and it showed the border in the shops and things.
Yes.
Maybe it gets confusing with things like that.
Maybe it's just confusing.
Or maybe like some of your houses in a different state.
Yeah, let us know in the comments below what you think. That might be a good point. It might be you might be actually on the line.
Imagine if your house is on the line and you just go, "Sorry, Mum, I'm just going to the bathroom in Canada."
Yeah, you commute every day.
Come to dinner in America.
Smash that button if you enjoy this kind of content, guys. Smash that subscribe button as well. You're absolute legends. What is the live goal for today?
2,463.
2,400. And the video you're about to see later on is also a big like goal. So go and smash the like button here. Go check that video out later. We're also streaming tonight. 100% streaming tonight at probably roughly 5:30 Eastern time.
Yep.
10:30 GMT.
Because we may or not be speaking to someone special.
You always speak to me, babe. We made it.
Someone more special?
Let's get into it. Why you don't live on the US-Canada border. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
This is Point Roberts, a small city located on the Tsawwassen Peninsula. While it's only accessible by driving south from Canada, its location just below...
We know where Point Roberts is. I hope this isn't... You know what? Actually, we had a few questions about this, didn't we? This is the place which is... you got to go through Canada to go for school.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the US, but to go to school, you got to go through Canada. And we had a few questions of the drivers of that. So if it is just about Point Roberts, our questions are hopefully about to be answered. We have learned about this a little bit.
The 49th parallel actually makes it part of the United States. And for centuries, it was relatively accessible for Canadian and American tourists alike, as visitors and residents could pass through Canada to access the city uninhibited. The locals became dependent on its easy accessibility and lack of border restrictions to entice tourists to come indulge in its not quite Canadian charm. Now, that was all well and good until it got bad, and bad. After 9/11, and again during the pandemic, the US closed its border with Canada, completely straining the residents of Point Roberts. Today, it's struggling to survive, with one news outlet referring to it as a, quote, ghost town in the making.
Wow.
Point Roberts' story, though, isn't unique. A myriad of towns along the US-Canada border have relied upon the absence of a secured border for centuries. Stateless cities from Maine to Washington pride themselves on their diverse communities, but increasingly, their nebulous borders have presented new challenges for residents who are now separated from each other by the presence of a very real boundary. As early as the US's founding, its shared border with Canada has been subject to good old-fashioned fighting. As George Washington's signature dried on the Treaty of Paris, land surveyors got to work mapping the US-Canada, then called British North America, border established at the 45th parallel. In the following century, both countries realized that just drawing a line across a piece of paper wasn't the most reliable way of splitting a continent into two. So, disputes over land claims in Maine and New York slowed the process of figuring out the surveyor's chicken scratch for decades. The US even started building a military base in Canadian territory during the 1840s, which was subsequently named Fort Blunder and abandoned because the US would never build a military base in a foreign country.
Blunder.
That would be
Wow.
crazy. But finally, the Oregon Treaty of 1846 brought the two countries together in agreement. They moved the US-Canada border to the 49th parallel, which allowed the United States to retain full ownership of Oregon, Washington, and all the hipsters contained within. Ever since, Americans and Canadians have lived along this line in border communities. Point Roberts was originally settled by Canadian trappers in 1858 and has long been a vacation community for nerds who only vacation in places created by weird surveying oddities. Though at one point residents wanted to secede from the United States and join Canada because they were sick of all their awesome freedom, it remains part of the US, even though the town leases water from Vancouver and receives assistance from the Delta, British Columbia Fire Department.
Okay.
There's a number of border towns that share culture and community along the world's longest undefended border for a variety of reasons, including Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan and Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Sweetgrass, Montana and Coutts, Alberta, Summit, Washington and Abbotsford, British Columbia, Derby Line, Vermont and Stansted, Quebec, and Blaine, Washington and Surrey, British Columbia. Some, like Niagara Falls, started as vacation towns for curious tourists and barrel enthusiasts in the 1800s, while others in British Columbia and Alberta attracted miners and entrepreneurs during the gold rush. These communities hold a certain pride in their stateless identities, not defined by nationality or citizenship, without a true border. Derby Line and Stansted even share the Haskell Free Library and Opera House, originally built by an American-Canadian couple in 1904, who met while living in the two towns and somehow overcame the massive cultural divide keeping Americans and Canadians apart. And though the US and Canada later charged the International Boundary Commission with clearing the border of any vegetation in a 6-meter, 20-foot radius in order to prevent any more Americans and Canadians from ever falling in love, residents of border towns could still move freely between sister cities without passports or security checks.
Okay.
The passage of the North American Free Trade Agreement in 1994 further promoted the idea of a border-free North America. But 9/11 and later COVID-19 changed everything. At 10:05 a.m. on 9/11, the White House sealed the northern border with a Level 1 customs alert, something that had never been done before. All traffic came to a grinding halt, with lines of trucks and cars spanning 30 miles or 50 kilometers deep in some places.
Wow.
This shutdown reconfigured the US and Canada's border security measures and cut off Point Roberts from Canada entirely. While Canada tried to maintain an open and secure border with the US after the terrorist attacks, given that $1.9 billion in ketchup-flavored potato chips crossed it each day, the northern boundary became a hard line that no one could cross without identification, which made it challenging for border communities to be the singular, cohesive entities they'd always been.
Yeah.
With the US's new border security, border town residents became required to show identification to pass over the US-Canadian border, even when they were simply walking to the other side of town. While residents of Point Roberts had previously been allowed to pass through Canada without a passport or birth certificate, they were now stopped at each security checkpoint along the border, first while leaving the mainland, and then again while re-entering the southern half of the Tsawwassen Peninsula. So whenever they want to leave Point Roberts to buy those messed up Oreo flavors that are probably legal in Canada, they're subject to car searches and border agents. And for towns all along the US-Canadian border, it's a hard pill to swallow. They're not these singular communities they used to be, and with the COVID-19
it's
pandemic
weird because it's kind of like just a change. I understand the reasons, I completely get it, but it's just a change of you've been doing this your whole life, and then suddenly, literally just a line which you've passed for however long in your life just to go to the supermarket
Suddenly,
across
you just
town.
can't do it.
You got your ID on you? No, I haven't. No, not allowed past this line. But last week I did.
Yeah.
20 years ago I did. Why? No, not allowed. It's a bit like
to go in your own country.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
It's
mad.
It's weird, isn't it? Very weird.
On the border for much of 2020, these towns were divided once again.
I do
Point
get it,
Roberts
though.
lost 80% of its business and could no longer welcome the hundreds of part-time residents that had previously padded its economy.
80%,
While officials did
wow.
allow a ferry from Bellingham, Washington to periodically visit with tourists, it wasn't enough to stave off the isolation or separation residents experienced. And though its border has now reopened, the additional burden of COVID tests, entry forms, and vaccination requirements before entering Canada has made it even harder for border town residents to reassemble the shattered pieces of the boundless communities they once had. Arbitrary borders are a big inconvenience in North America, but elsewhere in the world, they're the fuel that fires some of history's most persistent conflicts. Joseph from Real Life Lore covers many of these cases in his Nebula-exclusive series, Modern Conflicts.
I think, is that versus an ad? I think it is an ad. I enjoyed that. It's good.
Yeah, that was good. I feel like we would learn a bit more than what we already knew.
Definitely. I kind of, when we saw the Point Roberts, I thought, is this just going to be a video saying what it is? And we'd learned that, so I thought, potentially, I thought it was going to be one of them videos which you guys don't know too much about, where we record. It's like, we've covered that completely. We didn't really enjoy it because we knew it, so we just sack it off and don't upload
Whereas
it.
I didn't know it was because of COVID and 9/11,
I didn't know any of that stuff.
So that was...
All the other stuff got covered as well, the border closures, so I think it was something
At least, like, when we watch, like, future videos, we know the answers to our questions.
Yeah, we know the answer to our questions, so because we do sometimes we ask stupid questions just because we don't know, and people are like, why are you even asking that? Of course, it's like, we didn't know, you know?
Yeah.
But then you don't think we've seen your comment because we don't reply to everyone, because I think it's unfair to pick replies all the time because we see a lot of the comments.
Yeah.
Just a lot of them when we're at work and stuff like that, so we can't really be on our phone just replying. So we do see them and you do answer our questions. But, you know, sometimes we've got to ask stupid questions to find out.
Yep.
Enjoy it?
Yeah, it was a good video.
Smash that like button, guys. Smash that subscribe button and watch the video.
Have a fantastic day.
And we'll see you, legends, in the next one. Peace.